All right. Hello and welcome everybody to Photo Blab. It's that time. Studio Blab. I forgot we're calling it
Studio
Studio Blab,
Blab.
not Photo Blab. Just making a quick adjustment to something here really super fast. And then we'll get this party started.
Now we'll change it to something else. New Studio Blab.
Yeah, we'll call it New Studio Blab. Okay, so
Yeah.
Pam, how's everybody doing? I'm here. Mark is here. Tim is here. Peter's here. I'm not sure who else is here, but Sandy's here. Hey, Sandy, how's it going? We are doing high key and low key lighting tonight, talking specifically about these two styles of lighting, what this means, and how to do this kind of lighting. So, as per usual, questions are always, always, always welcome in regards to the lighting topic that we're specifically talking about, or lighting in general, or photography in general. Whatever you want to ask, go ahead and throw it in the chat, and we will try to answer that question. But as we like to start, since we have the time tonight, and we're not going to be rushing like we were, I think, was it last week where we just jumped right into it? Let's do our week in photography. So everybody that is here, hello, Georgios, and hey, David, how's it going? Good to see you here. We'd love to hear what you guys have been up to this week with your photography, or what you're planning to do in the coming week. Tell us your photo news, the things that you're excited about. And Mark and I will share ours. Hello to Ness, who also just joined us. Hey, Spicy Turtles, how's it going? What have you guys been up to? And Mark, why don't you share what you've been up to?
Sure. Last week, last Thursday, I think it was, I had a photo shoot with a new model that I've never worked with before, and we got some great photos. I'm still in the process of going through them and editing, of course. Hopefully I'll get it done faster than what Spyros normally gets them done at, but that should be easy.
Well, somebody want to pull this knife out of my back? Oh gosh.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
Oh, that was good. That was good. I got to double check. I want to make sure that this is actually playing. Yep, it is going. I'm going to pause.
Yeah, it's coming through. I already checked it.
Okay, good. So you're editing photos at a speedier rate than I am.
Yeah. And then this Saturday, I've got a family photo shoot. It's actually one that we've rescheduled twice now because the weather's always been uncooperative. But so far, it's looking like the weather's going to cooperate. So
awesome.
The family photos are always fun to do. Yeah, there's actually another photographer I know. She stopped doing people photography.
Okay.
So she recommended me to the client because this is a client that she's worked with multiple times. So it's sort of a hand-me-down type thing.
Nice. Well, that's great though. Those kind of referrals are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's about it for me. Other than I had to fix my my background holder because it almost fell out of the wall for whatever.
Oh, and that's no good.
Yeah, at least I noticed it before it fell on the model.
yeah, that would be really bad. You definitely don't want somebody getting hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, another thing that I did too. I actually just posted in the Facebook group too. Is I just did up a little write up of my top 10.
Yes, you should put that.
My top 10 picks for photography gear under $25.
Yeah, and you should go ahead and put that link in the chat, because if you guys haven't seen this post, you should check it out. It's a good chat, or a good post, a good resource.
Something like that.
So, got to say hello to Emmanuel and Vincent and Christopher and Steve, who have all joined. And just a reminder, if you guys want to share what you've been up to, David says he's getting ready to buy a new video camera, the Sony FS5. That's super cool. That's a pretty sweet camera based on what I was looking at. And Peter says, I haven't done more than missing opportunities. Yeah. The weather's been great, and I missed shooting. I see what you did there. Taking pictures of the king and queen when they visited the city. He said they were here for, I guess it is our Independence Day. And Spicy Turtle says, got a ball to shoot, waiting for my new strobe to arrive. New gear is always fun.
Yeah.
And Tim said, great plans, but none executed.
Yeah, that's the way it happens.
Yeah.
Completely relate.
Yeah, it happens that way sometimes. So hello to Roberto and hello to PTAX. Welcome to the stream. my week in photography was not super eventful, but I do want to share with you guys a couple of shots. So I'm going to sit down and we're going to switch up the screen here a little bit. And I actually managed, despite Mark's jesting, I actually managed to get some editing done this week. And I wanted to show you guys a couple of the photos, that I edited. So this is a new thing I'm about to try. Hopefully this isn't a disaster and I don't break the screen, but I don't think it will. So first, you guys remember the stream that we did with Otto Ott and Angela, where we body painted her up to look like a cyborg. And I finished this photo from that shoot, and I am just absolutely thrilled with the way this photo turned out. Like, it is everything I imagined it would be when we sat down and came up with this particular idea for this pose. It captures it perfectly for me. So I'm super thrilled with the way this photo came out.
It's a great edit.
The dodging and burning alone on that photo, I think I spent 2 hours just dodging and burning.
You must have a real great camera.
Right? And then this one I edited, that I'm about to switch to. This one I edited last night. Actually, I started and finished this one last night. This was from that glitter event that I went to back in April, and I saw this mirror ball when I was scouting out the location. I was like, oh yeah, hell yes, I'm going to take that mirror ball down and use it as a prop. And it worked out really well. There's nothing better than having an idea like this and being able to execute it. So those are the two edits that I got done just yesterday. I got 2 photos done in a single day. How amazing is that?
Hot damn.
Right? Hot damn indeed. So that's kind of what I've been focused on, is editing my photos. Of course, I've also been working, doing what I can do to prep for us moving house, because we're buying that new house, which means a new studio and a new recording studio. And right now it's just paperwork for that, so not much is happening there. And then we've got just the general news, which is a reminder that the Lightroom course is very near to being complete. It is coming very soon. It's going to be launching this month. So if you're not subscribed to my email list and you want to know right away when the course is available, I definitely recommend heading over to my website and subscribing. I'll, of course, be announcing it on the channel as well, but it's going to go out to the email list first, so you guys will get first crack at it. Spicy Turtle says, did you use real circuit boards for that photo? I did indeed. I built a wall, and then I hot glued 75 pounds worth of circuit boards to that wall to make that backdrop. It was a laborious effort, but it was totally worth it. It was super awesome. Hiram says, that's an amazing picture. Thank you very much. Hello to Tim. Hapless Guitar Photography is here. And yeah, Vincent was just following up. Tim says he loves the cyborg shoot. He can't even pick a favorite. Totally, yep. I'm really, really happy with the way those came out. So that's what we've been up to. Now let's talk about high key and low key lighting, because these are 2 basic lighting concepts and they're super fun. Roberto says, need a coffee for this video to enjoy it. Go grab a coffee.
Yeah, we'll just sit here and wait for a few minutes.
So we're going to start with just a description of what these 2 types of photography are, or these 2 types of lighting styles are. And one of the really important things to understand is that when you say something like high key or low key lighting, there's no one lighting setup that is the only thing that is high key, as an example, right? It's a style of lighting rather than being one specific lighting setup with a light here and a light here and a light here or a light there, or whatever it might be. So we're going to show you some examples, but these are not definitive examples. These are just examples of the style. Let's see. Joey said, freaking awesome. And Spicy Turtle said, holy crap, but the result is amazing too. Mark says, great pictures. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. Oh, Steve says, trying to get the girlfriend to let me send in a picture from our low-key picture shoot from a few weeks ago for a critique. I would love to see that. If she's comfortable with that, we would really, really love to see that and be able to share our thoughts. And hello to A Craftman joining us tonight, as well as everybody else who just came in. So Mark, do you want to start by explaining the idea behind low-key photography, and then we can start working on the example?
Sure. So low-key is generally where you have a lot of dark elements. So typically a dark background, even the lighting is dark and moody, dark clothing on your model, and typically with the low key stuff too, the lighting is a little bit more dramatic as well too, just to really give it some a nice edge to it. So that's sort of
right.
the real basics of what a low key photography is. But it's basically it's a type of look, and there's, like Spyros said, there's not really any real proper way to light it. You just sort of go for the look that you like, but the key is keeping it dark and moody.
Right. Thinking of low key, the easiest way to describe low key, in my opinion, is shadow heavy. And what that means is that the shadows are more dominant in the scene than the lighting is. And so on the flip side of that, then, high key would mean that the lighting is more dominant in the scene and the shadows are diminished. So that's really all the differences between high key and low key. Low key, lots of shadows. High key, not so many shadows. Okay, so a couple quick questions and things we want to address, and then we're going to jump into this. Perfect. Mark just put in the link for submitting the photos, and we definitely want to let A Craftman and everybody else that may be new know that, as the folks in the chat have already reinforced, all questions are welcome. No questions are silly or stupid. We're not going to make fun of anybody for asking about something they don't know, because we understand that everybody is learning and trying to grow in their photography. Exactly. I remember when I didn't know a lick about lighting, and I had all of the same questions that I get asked on a regular basis. So please feel free to ask any question, whether it's related to the topic at hand or not. We will try to answer it for you. So we're going to start with a low-key photography demonstration. As Mark said, your background in low-key is typically dark. So I'm going to have my black vinyl as the background for this shot. And I'm wearing a dark shirt. Tim says, Hapless Guitar Photography says, if there is low-key photos, does that mean there are also Thor photography? I like it. I like it a lot. So for our low-key shot, I'm actually going to pose for it. And Mark and I found a nice example that we're going to use as a reference. We're not going to show you guys the example because, again, we don't want to take somebody else's creation, somebody else's photo, and appropriate it for our own use and show it and broadcast in a way that we might not be able to legally do. So the basic idea is I'm going to be posing, and I'm going to hold my hands up like this, and I'm going to get kind of like a fierce look on my face. And essentially, I'm just going to be lit in outline. The edges of me will be lit up, and most everything else will be in darkness. And that will be low key because most of my front will be in shadow. Pretty much all of the background will be in shadow, and the only real light will be along the edges of my body in the shot. So to do this, I first need to set up the tripod and put my camera on it. Because I can't take a self-portrait if I don't set this up.
Yeah.
I think it's totally funny, Tim. That's a hilarious little joke that you did there, and I like it. Especially because I am quite excited for Thor Ragnarok, the next Thor movie. Who else is excited for that movie? Yes, Christian did the photo hooded in the snow, and that would absolutely be low-key, Tim. That's a perfect example of low-key photography. And that's actually similar in style to what Mark and I are about to demonstrate to you tonight. One of the things you keep forgetting to talk about.
I like to do bodyscapes, and bodyscapes
yes.
are really low-key as well, too.
In fact, you should throw a link. You have it up on 500px, don't you? The photo of Kristen that you did.
Yeah, looking now.
Yeah. Fair warning, this is mildly not safe for work, so if you are an adult, feel free to look at it. It is a beautiful bodyscape photo of a wonderful model that Mark knows. And in fact, you guys may remember Kristen. She was a guest when we were still doing the photo blabs up in the studio when we talked about nude photography and nude modeling.
Yeah,
so
link is
let
in
me
there.
set. I think I'll do it this way. Okay, links in the chat, Mark said. So I'm just setting up the camera position, and I'm going to take my first frame of the background. I'm set at ISO 200, 1/250th of a second, and f7.1. And as you can see, I've got a black frame. So I am going to go ahead and turn on my trigger because my settings are set, and I'm going to see where I need to stand so that I'm in frame. I need to tilt the camera up a little bit, or I can actually, I need to tilt it up a little bit, and I think move it closer to me too. All right, so I'm gonna stand here. You guys can see me all right, right?
Yep.
And I'm gonna pose something like this. Now we need, no, that's too close to the backdrop, I think. I need to move away from it. Part of the reason I'm thinking about moving away from the backdrop is I wanna make sure that we don't get any spill on the backdrop. But the issue, of course, is that my ceilings are not 9 feet tall, which means I'm fighting against the height of my studio. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna raise this up, and I think shoot it down at a little bit of an angle. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so this is my mark. I'm just looking at where my feet are so I know where to stand. Right about there, so I'm in frame. I'm gonna take off my watch for the photo. Okay, so Mark, do you wanna explain what we're gonna do with these lights?
Sure.
I've got one light right here, and I'll start setting it up and you can explain what the purpose of this light is.
Okay, well, but basically, like Spyros mentioned, we're primarily going for more shadows than we are light. So he's trying to set a light himself up. I guess you could almost say like a rim light.
Exactly.
But he's actually going to have one on each side, and he's also going to flag it so that the light is more direct. And the flags are also going to keep the light from spilling onto the background as well too, and also prevent it from going into the lens and getting some flare. So
right.
So the exact location of the flashes will require a little bit of playing around, but we're thinking that it's probably going to be slightly behind him, or each one, probably about shoulder height, and sort of build from there and adjust accordingly. But I think probably just based off of experience, probably going to be pretty close at the first shot or two. And it probably won't take that much, but it'll definitely be. It should definitely look real nice when it's actually done.
I'm going to use that light to focus, to pre-focus the camera. And let's see here. Turn my focus peaking on. There we go, right there. All right, so I'm focused. I also need to turn my self-timer on. Ah, keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. That. And self-timer. I'm choosing all the wrong settings. Here it is. I hardly ever use my self-timer, so I'm just not used to using it anymore. That's 2 seconds. I want a 12-second. Okay, so 12-second timer. All right, so we are going to take the first shot. And what's been going on in the chat? Let's see. I've seen it before, but never had the opportunity to mention it. Kristen was super cool. She was very cool. P-Tech says, yeah. Roberto says, I have a cappuccino machine, so it takes 6 hours for one coffee. That's hilarious. Akal Peru says, hey guys, we're a creative agency from Lima, Peru, and we wanted to ask, do you prefer low-key photography in black and white or color? I honestly don't really do much black and white, so my low-key stuff is almost always in color. But I know Mark has done a number of low-key photos, particularly the ones we were just talking about with Kristen, in black and white. So which do you prefer, Mark?
It really depends on the circumstances. Like Kristen, she's a little bit darker skinned and everything, so I thought the black and white suited well for that. But I've done other similar work for the like clients that have paid me to do it, and they typically had a lighter skin tone, and I ended up actually keeping those ones as color because I thought they look better as color. So it mostly just depends when all's said and done, and what you end up trying to get.
Yeah, very much so.
So there's no real right or wrong answer.
Right. So this is the first shot. And if you take a look at that, it's pretty darn good. Now, the front of my shirt, because it's got white lettering on it, it's going to catch some light. So it's not going to be like fully dark right here. But I think I like that. I'm thinking turning the power down. And let me explain what my settings are here currently. On this flash, I'm currently at 1/8 power and 28 millimeters. I'm debating, Mark, what do you think about a grid versus these flags?
A grid would be more direct, but you are really only doing from your shoulders up. So a grid might work okay. If you're doing more of a full body, you might be limiting yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, let's try a grid. And here's what the grid's going to do. These flags are stopping the light from bouncing all around to the side, but there's still some sloppiness to it. A grid, on the other hand, is really, really, really going to focus that light.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Let's try it and see. Now, with the grid, I'm going to increase the power by 2 stops because grids really significantly cut down the power of your light. So let's take a second shot here. Hello, Ultra. Good to see you here. All right, so this is shot number 2, grid with the light set to half power. Ooh, I like that better.
Yeah, it's strong on your arm, but not so much on your face now.
Yep. I think I would maybe aim it up a little higher to get a little bit more on the side of my head and cut my head out a little bit more.
Yeah,
but
I'm thinking the same thing. Aim it a little bit higher, maybe power down a little bit too.
I was thinking the exact same thing. So I'm going to aim it a little higher. Absolutely. And power it down by, you think 1 stop? What do you think, Mark? I'm going to go 1 stop. All right, so we're going to go to 1/4 power here. And I'm elevated it to get it more along my edges here. So let's see. Akal Peru says, thanks for the response. We actually just did a vid in Spanish about low-key, but we love to keep learning. Thank you guys for all your info. That's awesome. Glad to know and glad to be able to help. Peter says, I'm going to have to wait. I saw, Steve, I think you said you submitted a photo, and she said it was okay, even though she's a little shy. So that's awesome. We look forward to it. I will definitely critique that photo. I'm just looking at my pose and making sure I'm in the right spot.
I need a little remote so I can trigger it for you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. The shot I sent could probably be more dark, but I wanted to get most of her light and have a dark background. All right.
Well, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
That looks really good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is set up the other light on the other side identically, because we want the other side of me to basically be lit the exact same way. So a grid, a flash at half power, 28 millimeters, 1/4 power, set up at the same height in the same position, just on the opposite side. So I'm going to start with it over here so that I can position it and set the height and everything properly. And you can see what we're talking about when we say low key, because there is a ton of shadow in that image. And we are going to be adding a little bit more light, but it's still basically all shadow. Quarter power, I said, right? Quarter power, 28 millimeters. Grid. Set the height. That looks pretty good. And set it over here and aim it. So I need it aimed.
Not at the wall.
Not at the wall, right? Not at the wall. Right about there. Okay, so that looks like a good spot. I'm going to try to not blind myself, but make sure it's actually flashing.
So you take
I did blind myself. God, that was bright.
I think it was only quarter power.
Okay, so here we go. Now we've got both lights, and this should finish the shot right here. I might need to adjust this slightly, but I think we're in the right spot. Almost forgot to take off my glasses. I want to make sure I don't step on them.
Well, the new one's not quite as bright.
Yeah, you're right. The new one needs to come up in power, but dang if that doesn't look good.
Yeah, it definitely looks good.
That looks really cool. So we'll take this one up to half power. And I think it might just not be hitting my shoulder quite so strongly either. So I moved it ever so slightly back this way to get it on my shoulder. And I'm actually going to leave it back at quarter power and see if it was just maybe that it wasn't hitting my shoulder just right. So let's try it right there. I'm going to edit this one up when we're done with this too.
A new profile picture.
Right.
Well, I'm going to end up having to do this now too. I'm almost bald enough to pull it off.
Oh, that looks really good.
Yeah, the power looks even now.
Ah, shucks. Look at where I'm standing, though. I'm too close to the right edge of the frame. I took my glasses off before I had myself positioned in the right spot. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. You guys are just chatting about the stuff that you're using. So you guys should be able to see what we're talking about. Like, this is an example of a low-key shot, and this is a particularly easy setup. We're gonna do one more. I'm gonna position myself so that I'm a little more even in the frame. That looks good right there. Now off with the glasses. And hopefully that should work.
You're closer to being centered.
Close enough that I can add a little bit to the edge to even it out, or just crop in on the other one. But that's low key for you right there. There is light, but it is predominantly shadow. And again, super easy. Just a couple of lights here. You're not clipped. I don't believe I'm clipped. I would have to actually go. Let me check on camera here. I'll go into the review and check my highlights on that, but I'm pretty sure I won't be clipped.
Yeah, you're probably close, but I don't think you are.
Yeah, the only thing clipping is my background, which is fine. It's clipping into shadow, and that's fine because I want it to be nice and dark in the background. So that's the shot right there. That's our low-key photo. Looks amazing. I'm really happy with it. Steve says, done, stream over. Okay, so if anybody has questions, what lens are you using, Mark says. So as you guys, if you're not aware, I'm shooting with the Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II. It's a micro 4/3 camera. The lens I've currently got on the camera is the 12 to 40 millimeter f2.8 Pro lens. And it is equivalent in terms of, full frame lenses to a 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8. So that's the lens that I'm using. Tim says the angry giant. Yeah, that glow through the fingers is super cool, isn't it? I really like that. So now we're going to switch to high key. High key, like we said, is the exact opposite. Light basically everywhere, minimal shadows. And now when we say minimal shadows, there are obviously still shadows. Just like in this photo, there is light. It's just that now in the high key, the light will be the dominant factor and the shadows will be minimized.
Yeah.
So the first thing is a nice bright background.
Yeah, a high key is one thing I don't do a lot of.
I don't do it a lot either, but when I do it and I love it.
Yeah.
Now, one point that I want to make that's super, super, super important. I'm looking at my Olympus as if it's the camera I'm talking into, so you guys can see me looking at the camera. Because when I first started doing my YouTube video, guys, this was how it was set up. The only difference is, of course, this camera right now on the tripod is vertical for the photo, but I had a camera on a tripod like that recording me, and I would stand here, look at that camera, and record my videos. This is where I started doing it. But anyway, what I was about to say is high key does not necessarily mean white for a background. It just generally means bright for a background. So it could be brightly colored background. It doesn't have to be white. In this instance, here in the studio, we are going to use white. And the bonus is we're going to explain to you guys how to do a clean white background using your flashes. I think we already did this before, but we'll just reiterate this. So if we want the background to be nice and bright and white, it needs to be lit up, especially if I'm standing here. I'm going to leave the camera where it is. I'm going to pose basically in the same spot to simplify things. But I want the background behind me to be white. And we'll start with the light or lights that are going to be on me. And so that means for now, I'm going to turn these two lights off. I'm going to bring in another light, and we'll use that as my main light, or key light as it's often referred to. And what do you think, Mark? Diffused or not diffused? You tell me what to do for the high key shot.
For the background?
For me, on me.
For you, I would diffuse it.
Okay.
Like with an umbrella or something.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do an umbrella then. We'll keep it simple. We'll do an umbrella. Bam! I'm Mary Poppins. Dude, who saw Wonder Woman? Who saw Wonder Woman? I want to know who saw Wonder Woman. Also,
I want to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Who saw Guardians of the Galaxy? Who saw Guardians of the Galaxy and knows what I'm Mary Poppins, our mother effing Mary Poppins means? I gotta know. So quick poll.
I'm going to drop another link in the chat. This is probably the closest thing that I have to a high key, but it's probably not exactly high key, but thought people might like to see it anyways. Like it's definitely a white background and everything's well lit, but she's wearing a real dark outfit, so sort of a mix, 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Right. All right, I need to flip this up so I can actually see. Nope, my photo, my light's not in frame. So I'm going to take test shot number 1. Now let me lay out the details here, folks. These two lights are currently turned off. These two background lights are currently turned off. The only flash that's going to fire is this flash right here. And it's pointing at me. I'm going to be posing in the exact same spot. I'll even do the exact same pose so that you have a contrast, exact same pose, different lighting. But I need to aim this light a little bit better. So right now, it's basically coming across the front of me like this. And I'm probably going to want to turn it a little bit so it's kind of more coming right into my face. So I'm just going to twist it like that. And I think I'm going to elevate it up a little bit more too. Maybe like an inch, because that's all the clearance I have.
Damn.
I cannot wait till I have 9-foot ceilings, guys. Like, it's going to be amazing. All right, so right here we go. High key light, shot 1. This is just setting up this key light here.
Yeah, because that's so totally a high key pose.
Okay. Oh, and I forgot to say what power this flash was at. I apologize. This flash is currently set at 1/4 power. And I can tell you right now, I think it should be brighter. What do you think, Mark?
Agree. Yeah, I would agree.
And right now, that background looks dirty and dingy and gray because this light hits me before it hits the backdrop. By the time it hits the backdrop and gets back to the camera, it's lost so much power that that backdrop comes out as gray. These lights in the background here are going to light that up by the time we're finished to make it nice and bright and white behind me. But we'll start just by getting this one. You think a stop?
Yeah, I'd say a stop. It's going to be bright on your hand, but
yeah, we'll go a stop. I saw the Origins of the Guardians of the Galaxy at number 2. You guys got to go see number 2. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Did you see Wonder Woman yet?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Third act's a little sketchy, but it's still a great movie.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Now, I want to match that, I think, on the other side. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I would agree.
So same configuration, just on the other side of me. So another light, another stand, another umbrella. Thankfully, I've got them all set to go right here. Save us time. What time is it anyway? 6:35? Wow, we're doing really good.
Yeah, 6:36.
So Spicy Turtles has a question, which is, what do I set my white balance to? And the answer is I set it to the flash white balance setting.
Yeah, and technically you could set it to daylight because flashes are typically daylight balanced anyways. They're
correct.
Close.
Yeah, but I just honestly, my camera, my white balance is always set to flash. Like even if I'm not shooting with flash, I just leave it set to flash, and then I fix my white balance later on when I'm editing. That's one thing where I'm totally okay with the fix it in Photoshop mentality, although I do my fixing in Lightroom and not Photoshop for the white balance anyway. Okay, so this looks like it's in just about the exact right spot. Let me just kind of stand here and look. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now this is gonna bomb me with light. Here we go.
There we go. That's good.
Now, as you can see, because I added a second light, the background has become brighter. It is not white yet, but it is not nearly as gray as it was before. And that's simply because this second light is throwing more light towards the background. And that light's hitting the background and also making it to the camera, bringing that up more so that it is brighter, even though it's not fully white. So Spicy Turtle says, so you don't use Kelvins at all. When I'm shooting, yeah, basically, here's when I use Kelvins, actually. I use Kelvins when I'm white balancing my video cameras. Because with flash, or with my camera, I'm either using flash, where my white balance is basically just about perfect because of the flash white balance setting, or I use a gray card or something just in the shot that I know is beautiful tone so that I can fix it. And I shoot raw all the time, so it's an easy fix in Lightroom. But with my videos, the white balance is not such an easy fix. And so a lot of times, like this one is actually set to a custom white balance. I think this one, the camera that you're seeing me through right now, is set to 4,000 Kelvin. And then the one that I have up in my other studio, I think that one is set to just under daylight. It's like at 5,000, it might be at like 4,900 because of the lighting I have upstairs. So that's where I end up using Kelvin. Okay, so now I want to blast out this backdrop with light. And what I'm going to do is take these grids off, point these lights at the background, and turn them on.
In theory, you might even be able to get away with doing it with one flash because you have a narrow view. You can have the flash right behind you, blasting right at the background.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but because they're both right here, I'm just going to go ahead and use them both, and I'm just going to blast it. I'm just going to blast it. So before I turn this one on, I'm actually going to test fire this light and make sure it's kind of hitting in the middle-ish of, oh, and I actually want to widen this out. So I'm going to pull out the little diffusion panel to spread that light out a bit. And that's pretty good. Now I'm going to turn up the power, full power on these lights. Because like I said, we're pounding light into this background. A craftsman says, just watch your videos on white and black backgrounds. Very informative, good tips. Thanks. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it and found it helpful. That is fantastic. All right, we're almost there. Let me crank the power up on this bad boy. And I'm actually going to bring it back a little bit and test fire this one as well.
How far away from the background are they?
Like maybe 4 to 5-ish feet. And again, they're at full power. Art King says how many? Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say about 5 feet, roughly speaking. And I know it's a little harder to see because I have all this lighting gear in the way. But now we've got all the lights on. Let me make sure everything's firing. Woo, everything's firing. And
you're almost sure of that.
Here we go. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot. Centered in the frame. Glasses off.
Wreck them on the ground.
Yeah. And that should be nice and high key.
Definitely.
How's it look?
I actually think the background's a little too bright.
Yeah, I think the background's a bit too bright too. My head's starting to get lost on it.
Yep, exactly.
I look kind of badass though, don't I?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would probably leave this, and what I would do is just do a little bit of highlight recovery in Photoshop or Lightroom rather. But let me check the photo. I'm going to check for any clipping. The background should be fully clipped, which it is, but my head is not clipping. And so that means when I do highlight recovery, it's not going to touch the background because there's nothing in the background for it to recover, but it will bring my skin tones in a little bit. So knowing that, knowing the latitude I have in the raw shot, I would leave that. And Dave says you want 2 stops difference, and that's what I did. These are currently set, these are actually set at half power, and those backlights are set at full power. So it's only a 1-stop difference between the power of this light and those lights, but these lights are also going through umbrellas, which diminishes the power roughly a stop. So my background is basically 2 stops brighter than my foreground. And when I go for this kind of a shot, I typically just take my background right into clipping because then I know it's going to be perfectly seamlessly, beautifully white. So that's high key. Let's see here. Steve said Spyros is the real deal. Year doesn't matter. Just give simple, very effective advice that you can apply very easily. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. We try to be helpful. P-Tac says I like the head. Tim says I look kind of badass. I look like a grappler from MMA, right? Saint Spyros. I should do. We should do a Saint Spyros. Like, oh. Let's do that. That'll be fun. All right. So I need to flip this back up so I can actually see myself. Yeah. There we go. And we'll try to make me look saintly. How much are the white walls helping in this image? I mean, a little bit. I got that wide-eyed look. A little bit, just because they are white walls and they're going to bounce the light around. But I don't like. I'm going to step around here so people can see. I don't really account for those when I'm setting up my lights. I mean, I adapt to them because they do have some effect on my photos when I'm working in here because the light will bounce. But I'm just evaluating the photos, and then I work off of, what the light looks like, and I make adjustments as needed. My new studio in the new house, I'm probably going to paint. I was thinking about painting it a gray, probably not like a dark gray. I think like even the middle gray, the 18% gray might be too dark. So I'll probably go for something a little bit lighter but I don't know if I'm going to go full white in there just because honestly, I haven't decided yet, but that's kind of what I'm planning. So Scott says, what do you prefer for backdrops, vinyl or paper? And does that make much difference for flash? Mark, which do you prefer?
Well, I've never used vinyl. I only have paper, and
Okay.
the paper is convenient because if it gets ripped or torn, you just cut a strip off, then you sort of start over again. But then once the paper's gone, then the paper is gone. So
right.
I imagine it probably washes up pretty easily, I would think.
It does wash up pretty well. I really like vinyl. And I, like you, I'm on the flip side of things, Mark, in that I never have used paper.
Yeah.
So I've used cloth and I've used vinyl. And I prefer vinyl because it is easier to get a clean, seamless look, whether or not you're blowing the background out like I do. And the thing that I do bring my black canvas backdrop out for on occasion, though, is, in fact, let me show you. I got to bring up a photo for reference so that you guys can see it, or a couple of photos, actually. And I'll just do it via the browser rather than making things complicated. So Mark's going to disappear for a moment here as I bring up a new window and then get it out of the way so that I can look up when I need to look up. My brain just quit on me. Here we go. Google Drive. And I need to go to, if you guys haven't noticed, I sub-vocalize when I'm doing things. I'm looking for Glass Fist. This is another photo that I've edited this week. So I've actually got more than 2 photos done this week. All right, so there's 2 photos here that I'm going to show you side by side. Mark, I'm going to cover you up for a moment. Okay. So I apologize for that. Let's see. So I want to open in a new tab, but it won't let me open a new tab. Control click. That didn't work. All right, let me just copy this link and new tab it. CTV. Bang. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys 2 photos side by side. One shot on vinyl and the other shot on canvas. And as you can see, the shot that I just put on screen, that's the one that was shot on vinyl. And the shot now that is covering up Mark, that's the one that was shot on canvas. And though the vinyl is black, because it is vinyl, it has some reflective properties. And I use that to my advantage. In the shot of Glass Fist with the black tape, I wanted a little bit of light on the background. So I let that light hit the background and it reflects a bit. And it gives a little bit of extra separation in the shot. Now, in the other shot that you see of Glass Fist, that's a triple exposure. And for that one, I wanted like a deep, dark, heavy matte black. And I pulled out my canvas and dropped it back there. I also flagged off my lights to keep those lights from hitting the backdrop at all. And that allowed me to get the really nice, deep, inky black that I wanted. And even if I had flagged the lighting in the photo with the tape, because of bounce, because of my white walls, because of, spill sloppiness, I still would have gotten some reflection and some detail and definition out of that black background. So it's a matter of kind of understanding what the material does and how you can use it and what you want to do with it. And 99% of the time I use vinyl, but occasionally I do pull out my canvas so that I can get that kind of nice inky black backdrop look. So now, Mark, I'm going to uncover you and you're back.
Yay.
Okay, so, hey, Tony's here. How's it going? He says he can't stay long. Vinyl is very heavy, not good to tote around. That's another very excellent point about vinyl. That stuff is heavy. Steve says, from another man with a big beard, you need to update your YouTube thumbnail to a current badass one with the beard. Yeah, I should do that. All right, so it is 6:48. We've got about 12 minutes.
Yeah,
I guess we could
throw them in there.
Yeah, if you have questions, throw them in. Otherwise, I could do all kinds of messing around in 12 minutes. I got an idea. Let's just see. I cut mine down to 3 inches now. It's only like 4 inches long. Now to grow it back. Yeah, I've been waiting to cut mine because I am waiting to do my annual beard photo shoot, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. So what I'm going to do is throw a couple of gels, kind of orangish red, on the lights, and then we're going to futz around with the back lighting. I just dropped the gel. Did I just drop a gel? You guys can't see what I'm doing, so you don't know if I dropped it or not, but I don't know what the heck happened to it. I dropped it into the bag. That's where I dropped it. To give me a colored background. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to have to turn the power down on these, because if I leave them at full power, the gels, they're going to cut a little bit of this light out, sure, but it's still basically going to be overexposed. It just might have a slight kind of reddish pinkish tinge to it. And just for the purposes of demonstrating that, we'll take a shot with them like that. Yeah, my wife says daily I ask if he's scheduled the beard shoot. I haven't. I've been putting it off just because we've got all this other stuff going on. So this should show us a clipped background with maybe a slight orangey pinkish tinge to it. Ooh, you can see that light on me for sure. Gels. And like I said, you can see it a little bit on the background, but it is principally pinking up me. So if we wanted to have me have a high key colored background, I think what we would do here is flag those background lights, because some of that light is spilling out from these sides to hit me, and then turn down the power so that it doesn't blow out the background. So I'm going to take the power down. What do you think, Mark? I'm going to go down to like 16th. They were both at full power. I was thinking 16th power.
Yeah, so start there.
And I'm going to leave these lights the same.
Yeah, that's one nice thing with using gel, or with using a white seamless background, is you can get almost any color you want with the use of gels. It's very versatile.
Okay, so that's better, but still too bright, I would say. So we'll take it down even further. Let's take it down to like, okay, here's part of the problem though. I can get, okay, here's going to be part of the problem right now. These lights, these lights, I got to check something here, folks. Give me just a second. Ooh, okay. I need to, my headphones are just about to die, so let me plug in so you guys can hear me before these things just die totally. Can you still hear me, Mark?
Yep.
Okay. Take these out of my ears. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Let me throw these on their charger. I wasn't sure if these things were going to make a full hour blab, or actually it was almost 2 hours because you and I were on the line before that. So I think I'll have to save those for like just before we start. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off these two lights. And the reason I'm turning these off is because remember, these two lights are also hitting the background. And what that means is that is lightening up all of the light that's coming from the background. And by turning these off, you're going to see that background get darker and more intensely colored with the gels that I put on it. So if we want to maintain whatever that color is, we're going to need to flag these lights so that they're not able to hit the background. See how how much darker that light now is? It is entirely because, that's a pretty wicked cool color too. It is entirely because of these lights. So if we want these lights to not play a role, what I'm going to do is pull the umbrellas because they'll be easier to flag without the umbrellas on them. But what I could do, I'll just show you my ghetto style flagging, is to take several sheets of this black foam core that I get at the dollar store, and I tape them together into a great big long piece, and then I literally tape them to the ceiling, something like this, so that it flags the light. So it would be like here-ish to help flag it. But in my brand new studio in the new house, I won't need to use that ghetto style flag. I'll be able to actually use some proper V-flats, since I'll have the height and the space to do some real flagging. So what I'm gonna do is take off the umbrellas, and we'll change these to harder edged light, which means I'm gonna need to turn the power down, probably a good 2 stops on each light. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, probably something like that.
So Tim says, I knew he'd ditch the umbrellas sooner or later. Yeah. You guys are right about that. Is there not enough room in your studio to use just one flash behind the subject, thereby preventing spill? There is enough room in my studio to do that, Tony. That's a good question. I just opted to use both lights since I had it back there. So I'm going to flag both of these lights, like so. And that should...
We know you like your hard lights.
I do like my hard light. That's, I mean, no lie, I do. That should pretty much take care of it. Now, I didn't turn the power down yet, so let me do that. 2 stops each will go. And let's just see what this looks like. Now, I'm not like moving these around, so I don't know how good this hard light's going to look. But, you know, for the last 10 minutes for grins to see what it looks like, I think this is a fun little experiment.
Actually, I like the one before where it's just red background.
Too harsh, but there's a little bit of spill on the background there. I got to re-aim them because they're hitting my hands principally, and there's like almost none of that light's hitting my face.
Right.
But you can see how you can maintain that background color and still light up your subject. So what I would probably do is bring it over here, aim it up a little bit like so. And I'm just kind of looking at like where I'm standing and see what this does here. Try it. And this is the fun of lighting, right?
Yep.
Just messing around.
There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of trying things out and understanding what you want out of it. Oh, that looks better. Quote of the day, hard lights and gels, baby. That's a good shot right there. Yeah, see, that's much better already. All I did was adjust my lights a little bit. They're more even. They're hitting my face better. My background is cleanly, solidly the color that I want it to be. And this would still qualify as higher key. Not as high key as it was when we had that solid white, but still, you know, a nice high key style shot. What I might do here is bring the backdrop up a little bit, you know, like maybe 1/3 of a stop, maybe 2/3 of a stop. And if you make that a little bit brighter, that helps it be high key. Also, like Mark was talking about earlier, if I were going for like a good high key look, I might be wearing brighter clothing for this particular style with the gels on the background. All righty. Tony's got to go. Have a good night, Tony. Thanks for joining us. Always appreciate it. Says I always miss the fun ones. Yeah, this has been a fun one. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So before we wrap this up, want to let you know a couple of things. Number one, next week, I've had a couple of people request this. So next week, what we're going to do is spend the evening discussing and demonstrating the use of on-camera flash. And the reason I'm bringing my little Canon out to show is because we'll also talk about the use of TTL flash. And if you guys remember from some of the earlier demos that we did, Mark and I both kind of, well, you said it best, I think, before we started the show, Mark, where you said our approach to on-camera flash is to not do it.
Yeah.
which is fine if you have that ability.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to shoot on-camera flash. So we'll do some discussion and demonstration of how to maximize your results when shooting on camera flash.
Yeah. And you can definitely do it. Like if you're a wedding shoot, like I quite often do it like at weddings or events where you're just running and gunning, and so it's
Yep.
if you're on the move, trying to carry a light stand around with you is a little bit crazy. So you just have it in your hot shoe, but it's definitely not the preferred method, but absolutely that's something that can and sometimes needs to be done.
Right, very much so. Let's see. So Scott says, man, I need some gels for sure. And Roberto says, I think I've heard that in an adult movie once. I'm not sure I want to know. Now, Spicy Turtles has a question, which is, do you make your flags or do you buy them? I make my flags. Now, you guys may have noticed, if you haven't noticed, you may or may not have noticed the fact that all of my flashes have a little white ring around the edge. That is Velcro. And Velcro is my DIY modular stick anything I want to my flash tool. So every new flash I get, the very first thing I do is I wrap Velcro on the head of it. Now my flag here is a piece of craft foam. You can get this at a craft store. It's like a 9 or it's a 12 by 18 inch sheet of this foam. Will cost you like 99 cents. Out of that sheet, you can easily get 4 flags. And so I cut it into quarters. I actually cut the sheet into quarters. And then because it's a little long, I fold up this edge. And the reason I fold it up too is it gives it a little thickness on that edge. It's a little easier to work with. And then I slap a piece of the hook edge of the Velcro. It's the loop of the Velcro on the flash itself, and then the hook goes on the accessory. And then blammo, flag on my flash. I can flag it from the side. I can flag it on the top. I can flag it on the bottom. I can flag it on the top and the side. It's just super modular and really nice and easy to use. And by the same token,
you can make a snoot with it.
yeah. If you have another one, you can make a snoot with it. And then my gels, which I bought off of Amazon, this took a little time, but it's totally worth it. They have these tabs, and these actually came with rubber bands that you're supposed to use to put them on the flash. Yeah, those are stupid. And of course, I put Velcro, so I can just Velcro my gels to my flash. And then I can, if I still want to flag, right? Like I can still flag. So I go bam, and I can flag and gel at the same time. So Velcro is amazing. What I do want to do is I need to add the hook end or the loop end of the Velcro to the outside of these gels, so that if I need to go onto the side like this, I've got a little bit more to hook onto. There's enough there that I can kind of get away with it, but sometimes I'm trying to do like the top and the side, and this one grips it pretty good, but some of my flashes, there's not enough on the side to hold this down. So that'll be a future project when I've got no other projects to do, which is almost never.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so it's never gonna get done.
Yeah, because that happens all the time.
Yeah. Spicy Turtles out of the
Ooh. Okay, so he says, have you used or heard of Set a Light 3D Studio? I've heard of similar. I don't know if I've used that one particularly, but I've heard of these types, and I've played with a couple of these types of pieces of software. And it's basically a virtual studio that allows you to set up virtual lights in 3D space with a subject and see what the lighting looks like on the subject. It's a way to mock up lights, without actually having to have a studio with a subject and all of the lighting and all of the different modifiers to test out a look. And they can be really great tools for learning about lighting by playing in that virtual space. So if you run across that kind of software and you can visualize and work with it in 3D, it's definitely worth doing. I played with it a little bit, and it didn't suit me. I just, it was okay, but I found it a little bit cumbersome to use, the one that I was trying to use, at least in terms of like setting up the lighting in the 3D space and trying to get it to do what I wanted. So I kind of abandoned the one that I played with, but I have played with them.
Yeah, I've never played with them myself.
Okay. Steve, that's a really great suggestion for a show. He says another stream idea, maybe cheap DIY solutions to expensive gear and modifiers. We should definitely do that. And Babe Doll 32,000 says, good demonstration. Thank you. We're glad you enjoyed it. And Mark has a question. He says, did ambient light have any influence on your high key photographs? None whatsoever. Without the flashes, we're basically still in the high key setup. I'm going to take my trigger off the camera, and yeah, I maxed my sync speed with my flash, and I'm using an aperture of f7.1. You guys should be able to see the settings on the screen. And ISO of 200, which is my base ISO for my camera. This is now going to be a no flash shot. And even though it was high key, you're going to see that the shot is going to be almost entirely underexposed, meaning no ambient light has any role whatsoever in this shot or any of the high key or other photos that we did.
Yeah, black shot.
Yep, black shot. Like you can't see anything there at all. So I don't think, yeah, Emmanuel, you're exactly right. Spicy Turtle says, I recommend checking it out. Very simple to use. I'll take a look at that one because I don't think that's the one that I tried. And like I said, the one I tried was kind of clunky in terms of the interface. All right, so on that note, Mark, do you have anything you want to add before we go?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm good today.
Okay. Last question before we go. Spicy Turtle says, what is my ambient light source in my studio? It's just these fluorescent, I don't know how well you'll be able to see them, but they're just daylight balanced fluorescent double ring lights that I got from the Home Depot. Nothing fancy. I just wanted something that was, you know, softish in terms of diffusion and daylight balanced for working in here. So Roberto says, thank you very much. Very good video. Thanks for the time.
Yep,
very welcome, everybody. Yep, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we'll be back next week here in the studio discussing on-camera flash and using TTL flash when shooting on camera. And if we have time, we might even do a little bit of TTL flash off camera. I, of course, will be back on Friday for a live edit at 1 p.m. Central Time on my YouTube channel. And other than that, if you don't already, you should follow me and Mark on the Twitters and on the Instagrams and on the YouTubes, but you guys are probably already following us on the YouTubes, and the Facebooks and wherever else you happen to socialize on the socials. But otherwise, whatever you do, make sure, of course, that you get out there, take some damn photos. We will see you guys next week. Have a great night and a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
The 1 minute post show while I find all the stop buttons.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.